Blog Talk Radio.
Writing your book is the easy part. Promoting your book so readers can find and purchase it is the hard part. Welcome to the Author Chat Show, hosted by author-publisher Lynda D. Brown. Follow us at www.facebook.com/authorchat. And to contact the show to promote your book, contact me at theauthorchatshow@gmail.com. Stay tuned and listen to today's show.
Good morning and welcome to a special edition of the Author Chat Show. I'm your host, Lynda D. Brown. My guest today is author Kevin Willett. Kevin will be my guest to chat about his new book, One Connection, How You Can Grow Your Business and Change the World One Connection at a Time. We'll be right back to chat with Kevin about his book after a word from today's sponsor.
PrimeStar Publicity and Public Relations is a full-service firm ready to fill the needs of their clients. Owner Helen Cook has more than 32 years of publicity, public relations, advertising, and marketing experience, and she focuses her professional talents on working with her clients' strengths to create customized, strategic campaigns, whether their needs are great or small. Radio, TV, print, Internet, publicity, marketing, creating a social media presence, branding, client positioning, author tours, speaking events. These are just some of the services PrimeStar provides for their clients. For a complete list of services and other information about the company, please visit our website, www.primestarpublicity.com, or email Helen at helen.cook@primestarpublicity.com, or phone 903-654-0938. PrimeStar's home office is located in the Houston, Texas area.
All right. Welcome back to the show. For those of you just tuning in, my guest today is author Kevin Willett. Kevin is going to be chatting with me about his book, One Connection, How You Can Grow Your Business and Change the World One Connection at a Time. Now, Kevin is no stranger to the needs of busy professionals. His years of experience in corporate business development, as well as his time as a successful entrepreneur and business owner, means that growing a business and planning for achievement is always on his mind. His continuous entrepreneurial growth is due to a combination of his skills in effective networking, creative marketing, plus mastery of the wide array of social media outlets. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Lynda. Thanks for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure to have you on here. Networking is really huge right now, especially with social media and also more and more people becoming entrepreneurs. Before we talk about your book, Kevin, why don't we get started with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
So, like I said, my name's Kevin Willett. I'm the CEO of the New England B2B Networking Group and the Friends of Kevin Networking Group. My background as a corporate banker, and one day I realized that I was supposed to change the world, Lynda. So I was sitting in my office, and I had people coming in constantly. This was during the recession, saying, geez, I'm really scared. You know, my business is struggling. I've lost my job. So I realized I was supposed to do something about it and didn't really know what. And so one day I said, you should start bringing people together, give them an opportunity to meet and see if they can help each other. And honestly, I fell in love with it. So I did both my corporate job and ran some networking events for a few years. And then finally got to realize that I really loved bringing people together. So in the worst recession in our lifetime, I decided to get up and quit my secure job to go start a networking group, and haven't looked back since.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Again, like I mentioned earlier, networking is really, really huge, and I commend you for putting people together, because that's what's really needed out here. You never know where your next deal is going to come from unless you're talking to people, like-minded people like yourself in the same mindset. So I think that's absolutely great. Now, Kevin, tell us a little bit about the book. What prompted you to write your book, One Connection?
Exactly what you just said, Lynda. One of the challenges of being, a professional networker is bringing people together. The thing that I kind of missed when I started this, Lynda, was that networking is just not a natural skill set for people. So I would have people sign up for the events and then, at the last minute back out. And, I would call you going, geez, I missed you last night. And finally, we would get to the point where you'd be honest and go, you know what, I realize the importance of networking, but I'm just afraid. So I sat down and I wrote the book to help people, with tips on how to network. So the book's about 140 or so networking tips from the, very beginning for the newbie networker to the more experienced networker. Just, hey, this is what has happened to me, and I've shared my success and failures. Just so, because you come out to a networking event, Lynda, and you look around, and everyone looks comfortable because they've done it for so long. And you're that newbie person standing in the room praying that someone comes over and talks to you. Well, I talk about that in the book, what you should do and why you should go over and grab Lynda when she's standing by herself, and help her and stuff. So, like I said, what was kind of interesting, Lynda, I wrote about half the book about a year ago. And one day I was looking at it, and I just go, you know what, I don't like this. And I hit the delete button and started over. Because I really wanted it to sound like this, like you and I having a conversation. And that's how I wrote the book. It's like, hey, Lynda, today let me tell you about this. And it's kind of funny. I got a text message last week from one of my friends who is reading my book, and all it said was, hey, will you get out of my head? Because I can hear your voice telling me these stories as I'm reading them, which I thought was a huge compliment.
Great, great. Kevin, now, according to your bio, you currently host 20 monthly networking events in the northern Massachusetts area and also southern New Hampshire, which is great. Now, do you use social media groups such as Meetup? I know we have Meetup groups here in the area that I'm in. So tell us about how you go about setting those up.
Yeah, honestly, like you said, as you mentioned, that I had about 20 events a month. I host 2 separate groups and stuff, but mostly for Friends of Kevin, which is my business-to-consumer model, it's all Facebook and Meetup. And then for the B2B side, actually I use LinkedIn because those events are a little more exclusive. There's only 10 people. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, Lynda, without social media, I never would have been able to accomplish what I have, done because, I do a lot of blogging, so I just go out and every morning I write a blog post. Hey, this is what's on my mind today, whether it's entrepreneurship or business networking, and share that out on social media, which has greatly allowed me to expand my reach because now there are people across the world, commenting on what I'm writing, which is just amazing. But without social media, I never would have been able to do that.
Exactly. Now, Kevin, one thing that we kind of have in common, along with being authors, you're also a host on, I believe, Blog Talk Radio. Is that correct?
Yep. Yes, I host a Friends of Kevin radio show on Blog Talk Radio. And what I do there, Lynda, is similar to what you're doing, is I interview local business owners, nonprofit people, authors. It's kind of interesting, Lynda, because I'll be on Twitter and I come across, a business or a business owner that I go, you know what, that's pretty cool. And I'll just send them a message saying, hey, what are you doing, next week at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? Can I interview on my radio show? And I met some just, as you, I'm sure you experienced, I met some really just incredible people, just by, reaching out saying, hey, you know what, give me a chance to interview on the show and, tell the world about your message and stuff. And it's really fun because you just, like I said, you get to meet some cool people and you'll get to learn so much. I find it helps me as a business owner when I bring people on to come up with, whether it's new social media tactics, new marketing tactics. I'm like, wow, it's something I never thought of. So glad I had them on the show, so now I can implement that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Kevin, very impressively, you've built a social media following of over 20,000 people. What social media sites do you use on a regular basis?
Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. I like to joke, Lynda, that the first 10,000 are the hardest to get. I'll give you a quick story. Yesterday, I had a guy connect with me on Facebook. And usually when you do, I'll send you some sort of, message like, oh, what inspired you to want to be my friend? And the guy responded back that we have 223 Facebook connections in common, so that basically makes us brothers. And I kind of chuckle, but, that's typically one of the responses we get is, we have, 500 Facebook friends in common, so I assume you're not a serial killer. So that's why I connected with you.
Great, great. And thank you so much for connecting with me on my Facebook author chat page. It's really great. That's actually how Kevin and I connected so that he can come on the show. And again, these tools are out there for people to use, and it's kind of mind-boggling to me, Kevin. I don't know if you run into this like I do, where I run, since I do promote authors, a lot of them that's really not using social media. And I think a lot of them are basically older authors, and I believe that social media tends to intimidate them a little bit. What would you say to someone like that?
Oh, I see it all the time, whether it's in-person networking events or use of social media, where, like I said, I'll reach out to somebody and say, hey, I just saw you wrote a book, it seems like a pretty cool topic, let me interview you. And you get a response back, no, thank you. And I'll be like, okay, going to ask why? Well, I'm too shy. But I'm like, well, think about the effort you put into writing this book or starting your business, whatever it may be. Don't you want people to know about it? It's like, well, I do, but the only way we're going to get to know about it is by you either coming to an event or, connecting on social media. But sometimes, like you said, I find people are afraid to say the wrong thing, so they don't say anything, which is potentially worse.
Exactly. Again, we see it all the time. Again, mind-boggling. Now, Kevin, in your book, as I look at your book on Amazon, and I love Amazon, which is why I heavily promote Amazon on my show. In the Look Inside feature, you have in your table of contents some great information and your book is available in just the Kindle format. Is that correct?
That's correct. Both hard copy and Kindle, yep.
Okay. And what I like about having the Kindle is you have what we call clickable links. So if there's something, once you read the book, because I always recommend that people read the book all the way through the first time, and then when they are in need of information, they can just kind of click on the link, and it'll take you right to the section of the book that you're interested in. One of the things that you have in your book under your table of contents are business cards. Tell us why business cards is so important when it comes to networking.
Oh, yeah, like I said, I'm a big believer in business cards, and I always tell people, Lynda, when you go into an event and you assume there's going to be 10 people there, bring 20 cards. Because it happened to me recently. I was having coffee with a potential client, and I had a friend in the room. He's like, hey, can you give me your card because the person at this table wants to know about you. I have to admit, Lynda, I left home without any cards in my pocket. And it was very awkward and embarrassing. I mean, it was kind of funny because, like, the three of them were looking at me like, you're the guy that's the expert in networking and you don't have a business card with you? But you have to have a way for people to be able to follow up with you and stay in contact. So by giving them that business card, I know when I come home, I'll look you up on LinkedIn and try to connect with you, take a look at your website. So you have that follow-up way to get in touch. And a lot of times people don't have their cards. And now you gave me, I may have gave you my card, but now it's up to, that person to connect with me. If I have your card, then I can connect back with you and stuff. So you just, very important, but also one tip I'll leave with you, make sure your cards say what you do. So back in the day, I used to have a computer consulting business, and I had these cards made, and they were awesome, Lynda, KMW Consulting. And about 3 months in, I realized my cards didn't say what I consulted on. Whoops. minor issue and stuff. So you come across my card on your desk 6 months from now, and you're like, well, what did he consult on? So, like I said, make sure lots of affordable options for business cards. Make sure that they look good and stuff. There's no coffee stains on them. That you didn't have them in your wallet for 7 months, and I can't even read the fonts anymore, because that's the impression we have on you. One tip I would like to share with you guys is when someone hands you your business card, take a look at it. Stare at it for a second, two, and make a comment about it. Everybody puts effort into their business cards, whether it's choosing the colors, choosing the logo. You're going to make people feel special just by pausing for a moment and making a comment on it. It's a real great tip. It's a great way to end the conversation by making a comment on their card. They walk away smiling.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Another thing that I agree with is there's a certain etiquette that goes along with when someone gives you their business card, and you talk about making sure that you don't just receive a business card from someone and then all of a sudden you're starting to get emails from these people. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, and I jokingly like to blame my marketing friends for this, because they talk about the importance of building your list. And I joke when I love to go out for pizza. I eat a lot of pizza. And whenever I'm someplace, if there's a place to leave my cards, I do. And all of a sudden, I get an email from somebody, and I'll be like, "Hey, Lynda, I really enjoyed your newsletter. I appreciate that. But I'm curious, how did we meet?" And you get some really awkward, funny, well, actually, I found your card in the pizza shop. So we had pizza in common. That's why I added you. Please, a million pleases, understand the fact that I gave you my business card at a networking event, or you found it on the ground, is not permission to add me to your newsletter list. And you see this happen all the time. And like I say to my friends who do that, I'm like, all right, so congratulations, Lynda. You have 1,000 people on your newsletter list. Let's talk about your open rate. How many people are reading your newsletter? If no one's reading it, what did you accomplish? Honestly, nothing. And worse, you may be upsetting people, because, we all have those friends that send out daily newsletters or weekly newsletters. Well, and if I didn't ask for it and you're sending it to me weekly, now one of the comments you'll hear from people is, well, if they don't want it, they can just unsubscribe. Yes, okay, correct, they can. But why are you asking me to do something, to have to take the time to unsubscribe when I didn't ask for it in the first place? So remember about your brand and your business. Don't alienate people because you're striving to get some sort of number on your newsletter list. And, take the time to look at your open rates. If you're sending out a newsletter to people that didn't ask for it and you have a very low open rate, guys, it's not advertising your business.
Kevin, you sound a little bit like myself when it comes to email lists. Do you find that that's really overrated?
Yes and no. For me personally, I have an opt-in. If you don't opt in, you don't get it. Where people are like, oh, just add me. I'm like, here's the link. Please. That way I never have to worry about, hey, did I add someone who didn't want to be added? Or, we've all been there where you're out at a networking event and you're like, oh, yeah, sure, just add me to your list. And then you get the newsletter and, it may not be of something of interest to you, or the frequency may be a little much, where, we do have friends that have a daily newsletter as they're trying to share as much content as they can. And it can be just a little overwhelming and stuff. So, like I said, there's a place for it and stuff, but like I said, only if people are actually reading your information, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm like you. Can be a total waste of time if nobody is actually reading it. So I agree with you 100% on that, Kevin.
I think you have to play around a little bit with it too, Lynda. There's times when I'll send out a newsletter and, maybe it's a great networking tip, or, it's a great entrepreneurship tip. And you'll see, okay, I put this type of newsletter out and nobody read it. Then I maybe put a little more personal stories into it, and I saw a spike. Well, okay, that's a sign from your audience of what they're looking for. So, and I do kind of encourage people that, take a look at what you sent out, look at your Google Analytics and say, okay, where was everything, and sometimes it's just you're sending the message your audience doesn't want. So, try changing up your message.
Exactly. Kevin, what do you, in your experience, is there a perfect time to host a networking event? Here's why I asked. I did one in April, and
Yep.
what we did as like a happy hour event. And I did it at a local bar, basically, because my nephew owns a bar, and I was able to get the space without having to pay for it. But unfortunately, it really didn't turn out well. And so tell us what you think are the best times and venues for a networking event.
Honestly, I try to stay away from bars because, like I said, unless you have your own room, because what ends up happening is a lot of times people, like I have friends who love going to events and where there's alcohol involved. Where I'm the opposite. I don't like any alcohol involved because silly things happen. But I've gone to events where we're like, oh, we're in the back corner of the room, and you don't know who's really involved in a networking event. It's loud, there's music, there's TVs, and I'm practically got my arms around you trying to network with you because I can't hear you speaking to me. So I try to get where I have my own space. I'm fortunate that many of my clients have, enough room that they can host 30 to 50 people, and they have parking to do that. So that's what I prefer personally. And what I tell people is very common, the way you just said, Lynda, is people host 1 or 2 networking events, and, the attendance isn't that great, and they give up. What I've learned is you just have to keep going. It's interesting, Lynda. I'll go into a new area and I'll come home and, I'll be a little sad because, I had a dozen people, whatever, and my wife will look at me and she's like, well, what's your issue? I'm like, well, I didn't draw enough people. And, she'll kind of chuckle and she'll be like, I know you're Kevin, so you should draw everywhere now. But what happens is that's the pattern, Lynda, is the first couple times, 10, 12 people show up, and then as they see that it's good, it grows rapidly. So that's my advice to everyone who's trying to host events is you can't give up and stuff. Try to be respectful to what's going on. We've all had those events where, we hosted a networking event, and then you found out that, it was the night of the biggest fundraiser in town. I've had that happen to me. Well, Kev, everyone and their brother and sister goes to this event. Good luck tomorrow night, by the way, because you're not going to draw more than 10 people. So, you want to be respectful to that, look at, what the others established networking groups in the area are when they're hosting their event. If you're just starting out, I advise you not to have an event the same night as them because many people are already involved in that organization will probably choose their events over yours. But, and do it, when people ask me that question, I might do it as soon as you can. Play around with the dates. I don't do Monday nights. I find that, it can be a little hectic getting back to work. Usually for me, it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Thursdays up in the Massachusetts area, usually fundraiser nights. That's when a lot of groups host their fundraisers, so I stay away from Thursday nights. But, try a Tuesday, try a Wednesday, flip it around a little bit and see, when do we draw better. But please don't give up if you have an event and it doesn't really go the way you hoped.
Well, I'm going to be real honest with you. It was, and I think another thing that I did wrong with my networking event, and see, guys, this is why it's so important to get books by authors such as Kevin so that you can find out how to do it right the next way. These were vendors where small business owners, and I wanted them to not only connect with each other, but to also showcase their products and services. And I can't even begin to tell you how big of a bust it was. When the people started coming into the bar, because I knew he had a great crowd, but they all stood by the bar. They didn't venture into our part of the bar to see what was going on until after they had a couple of drinks. And then, I hate to say it, it was so funny because we had a lot of different information out there, but everybody gravitated. The only person that really picked up a lot of business was a young lady that was a pure romance. She has those like adult parties, which are really great, or ladies parties. And everybody was over there. And I mean, it was very successful successful for her, which was great, and we became good friends after that. But it's just amazing that you really do have to put a lot of time and thought into what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I think that your book will definitely, so I'm definitely going to get a copy of it for two reasons. Number one, so that I can find out how to do my next event a lot better. And two, I would like to also do a review on your book, Kevin. So I'll send you an email after the interview so that we can talk about that. Because I think this is really, really important, because like I said, with more and more people starting small, their own businesses, small businesses, this is a great way for you to see who's out there. And not only is it business-to-business support, but it's also emotional support. It's very hard to start a business, and a lot of friends and families really don't understand what you go through. And so it's great to have like-minded people that you can surround yourself with that can kind of encourage you during those rough periods. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I agree with that 100% because, like you said, unless you're a business owner, no disrespect to people who aren't, you really don't know what we go through and stuff. And,
right.
And that's where it really helps at the networking events is to find that mentor, Lynda, that can, kind of guide you along because I know that's one of the roles I find myself playing with many new business owners. And, sometimes you do have to have, I call it the come to Jesus talk with them and saying, this is really what you're doing wrong, Lynda. This is why you're struggling. And other times, it's especially I talk to a lot of people who host events, and we talk about the things we just spoke about of, that I've tried that too, and I had the same results. And other times, it's like I said, it's just going, you know what, Lynda, it's part of growing as a business owner. You're going to have those days when, hey, nothing goes right, and then the next day, everything goes great. I think the best advice I got when I started my business, one of my friends was like, why would you quit a secure job to go do this? But once he accepted the answer, he's like, just remember one thing. He owned his own business. He's like, never too high, never too low. He goes, you're going to have those days when, everyone you talk to wants to be a client. And then you're going to have those days or weeks where you can't find a client anywhere. He goes, please understand that neither one of them defines you. It's just getting up and doing it again tomorrow.
Exactly. And honestly, I would take owning my own business as opposed to working for someone else anytime.
I can never go back.
It's so hard. I had to actually go back because it was such a great opportunity to just kind of, get my personal bills and finances in order while I'm continuing to do what I do. But it's like, oh my God, I'm tethered to a desk.
As opposed to if I ever have to go back to a 9 to 5 and you eat your sandwich at 12 noon and at 5 p.m. we'll unlock you and let you go. My God, good luck to those people who would be my coworkers. They would want to kill me in a few minutes, that's sure.
I know. It's mind-boggling. And one thing that when I started, and I've been interested in owning my own business, believe it or not, as a teen. And so I've always surrounded myself with great books about businesses and entrepreneurship. And somebody, and I think it might have been Robert Kiyosaki, mentioned something that really resonated with me a couple years ago. He said, people look at job as a security, but they really don't understand that it's more, it's not security, it's more like I don't want to say a jail sentence, but you're just really holding yourself hostage to somebody else's dreams and vision for 40 hours a week?
Sure. No, like I said, I respect it. There's people who financially, cannot go out and make that leap or, as I tell people, not everyone is built to run their own business because it can be an emotional roller coaster some days. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I talk to people all the time that have that dream. And I'm like, we've been talking about this for about a year now, Lynda. At some point in time, you are going to have to go out and chase that dream because it's going to haunt you if you don't. Because every
really
time you talk,
will.
you're like, geez, I wish I had my own business, and they have the idea. And I'm like, all right, you know, you have the idea. You know, I've heard the idea. I agree that it's a solid idea. And unfortunately, not all ideas are solid, you know, where you have people, as you've seen, you know, you're kind of naive about it. You're like, oh, I have this great service idea, and, you know, everyone I speak to says it's great. And it's like, well, but, you know, there's either a lot of competition or, you know, yeah, that is a great idea, and it's worked well out in another part of the country, but will it translate up here to New England? Maybe, maybe not.
Exactly.
So you got to be careful about, you know, making sure you have a solid dream before you chase it too.
Absolutely, absolutely. Words of wisdom. Kevin, we're, believe it or not, at the end of our broadcast. Tell our listening audience how they can connect with you online, and also in the Massachusetts area and South New Hampshire.
Yep. So like I said, you can go right out to my website, kevinwillett.net. You can go out to Facebook. It's facebook.com/KevinWillettAuthor. Those are the two quickest ways. You can just call me if you have a question about networking. My number is 978-995-1743.
Great, great. Do me a favor, if you would post that information on the Author Chat Facebook page, I would really appreciate it. So that way we can start getting people into connecting with each other and as soon as possible through your network, okay?
Sounds great. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. And thank you so much for coming on the show this morning and sharing with us about your book. And again, for those that are listening, the title of the book again is One Connection, How You Can Grow Your Business and Change the World, One Connection at a Time. The author is Kevin Willett, Willett. And Kevin, thank you again so much and enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thanks, you too, Lynda. Have a great day. Bye now.
You too, sweetie. Bye-bye. All right. Again, so the author is Kevin Willett, and the title of the book is One Connection, How You Can Grow Your Business and Change the World, One Connection at a Time. The book is available on Amazon and available in the Kindle for $9.99. Paperback is currently $14.99 on Amazon. You can also find it at other online major retailers. Again, very important, especially if you have a business or you're thinking about growing a business, get out there and start networking. See who's out there. As I mentioned in the interview with Kevin, a lot of times your family and friends really don't understand what it is that you go through as an author or a business owner. And it's great to kind of surround yourself with like-minded people that understand that you can vent to, and they would truly understand, as opposed to someone who enjoys their job and you vent to them about the problems that you're having with your own business, and you get that rolling eye. You know what I'm talking about, where they roll the eye and go, well, you know what, go get a job. Well, you know what, some of us don't really like working for other people. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to our special edition of the Author Chat Show this morning. Again, my guest was author Kevin Willett. The title of his book, One Connection, How You Can Grow Your Business and Change the World, One Connection at a Time. Again, highly recommend that you get a copy of this book. All right, so we will see you back here on Saturday. We will be back on the show on Saturday for the Saturday afternoon edition of the Author Chat Show. So this ends our broadcast for today, so enjoy the rest of your Thursday and have a great day. Bye-bye.